Prime Minister, are you here with us and will you be starting soon? Can I just get an audio cue?
I'm sorry, but we have a windy problem.
You have a wind problem? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that properly. Wind problem, is it?
Yes.
Um, okay. I mean, because the debate has been delayed by like 6 minutes already, so if possible, please sort out the problem ASAP so we can get right to the debate. Thank you.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. As the Prime Minister for the government, we will, I will explain my presentation now. Okay. Under the motion, this House believes that feminist movements in the developing world should embody ruthless and greed in advocacy. Okay. What is it mean by ruthlessness and greed here is that it means that standing up for one's rights and actively opposing actions or opinions by others without compromising an assertive or dominant manner. Okay. Our status quo here is that although there are loads of feminist movements, people are misunderstanding about what feminism is. So, what feminism is? Feminism is the fight is we fighting for the rights of women and not fighting for the woman to like conquer the world or being toxic, but the rights for the women's to fight the rights to fight for the rights to for women rights to be as same as men rights. For example, marital freedom and allowing the women to become leaders. Okay. Okay. The burden of proof here is that information transparency is a step closer in achieving our desired goals. And the second burden of proof is influencing the younger generation to speak up and continue to speak against. Okay, under the burden of proof, um, under the burden of proof that we want to prove that information transparency is a step closer to achieve desired goals. Okay, what is information transparency? Information transparency is like we voicing out our information clearly to others. And for example, we do like give a talk to schools and doing Instagram live to explain what feminism is, so that the society can be more clear about what feminism is. And while we are having information transparency, we need to be truthful on what we are fighting for, so that we can get trust from societies, so that our community can expand more and more, and this will also reduce the amount of misunderstanding by others, so that no more protest, so that the protests will be reduced. The protest of feminism will be reduced, so that less fight will occur, less people will get hurt, and yeah. Um, okay, but the proof that we want the op to prove is that the op need to prove that how the current feminist movements is still effective on achieving their goal, and um, okay, under the stance that we support the motion that this house believes that feminist movements is in developed world uh, should embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy. We support that stand, and for that I rest my case.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that speech. I now call upon the Leader of Opposition for their speech. Here, here.
Okay, so good afternoon and assalamualaikum to everyone here. So I, as the leader of opposition here, I will be doing three things in my speech today. Firstly, I will be giving characterizations to a few terms that the government has not brought up. Secondly, I will be giving my rebuttals to what what the Prime Minister has said. And thirdly, I will also be giving up one argument under the burden of why ruthlessness and greed is not an effective way to advocate feminism. Okay, so first things first. In this debate, we have to take note. We have to take note that our motion is this House believes that feminist movements in developing countries should embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy. So, the one important term that they forgot to characterize here is developing countries. So, what is developing countries? Developing countries is countries that are still developing and they usually face lots of problems in finance and whatnot. They are still trying to become a good country, so they have lots of problems basically. Okay, so moving on to what the Prime Minister has said. The Prime Minister has given his argument under information transparency is a step closer to achieving the goal. But here, we have to take into note that this motion is about whether or not the use of ruthlessness and greed is good or not. It's not about giving talks or making people realize what feminism really is. That's not what we're debating today. We're debating on whether or not uh, these feminist movements should use this ruthless and greed, which means that they do not compromise. They will have a very strong stance and they will not compromise for anything. In the whenever they advocate something, it's not about how they should like show everyone what feminists really are. That's not it. So this is why that first argument, information transparency, is totally irrelevant to this debate. Okay, and in this case, we both are fighting for feminism, for this feminist movement to get better. So this is not this is not something that's only exclusive on your side, but it's also on our side as well. Okay, so rebuttals are done. So I want to give a few burdens here. So under our side, the opposition, we want to prove our burden is firstly, we want to prove why ruthlessness and greed is not an effective way to advocate feminism. That's one. Secondly is why ruthlessness and greed will actually harm the feminist movement more than actually advocate it, more than actually help them. Okay, so I'll be answering the first burden, why ruthlessness and greed is not an effective way to advocate feminism. Okay, firstly, we have to take into account that developing countries have lots and lots of issues, such as Malaysia and maybe what we are having problem is if we are having problems with our economy, with our finance and whatnot. So in these developing countries, with all these problems, this feminist movement is not something that the government or anyone really pays attention to. It's not a top priority. So when we use ruthlessness and greed, when we say ruthlessness and greed is that they are firm on their stance. They want something and they will oppose it. They will not settle for a compromise. So when they take this attitude of not having a compromise, if they want this, they will get this. Okay, you have to take into account that this world is not it's not everything is black and white, but it is more of a gray, which means that every kind of decision, every kind of discussion, they will need to have a compromise for both sides to prosper. So if they fight for if the feminist movement use this ruthlessness and greed to fight for what they want, without giving like any benefits to to compromise and give benefits to also the government here, what will happen here is that there is a high chance the government will like totally outright refuse what they are fighting for. For example, maybe they're fighting uh, for women's salary or the income to go up by like 20%. But then the government says that it is too much. Our economy is still not good, so we want to reduce it to 10%. But when with this ruthless and greed type of approach, what will happen is that this no pay your eye. I will not accept it right now. Okay, so what will happen is that um, the government will, they will like not want to take this, like since the feminists want to take 20%, this one want to take 10%. Then if the feminists at least they compromise and take the 10%, at least they are actually one step closer to reaching their goal. Slowly they will reach that. But if they outright refuse it, then the discussion will become harder and harder, and the government will, in turn, the government will see like it is not something that we should continue. We want to refuse this feminist movement. Okay, uh, with this idea in mind, with this ruthlessness and greed, what will happen is that it is basically they are forcing what they're fighting for, the goals, without any sort of sympathy for people who do not understand. Because like when you introduce something new, something that is foreign, we have to take into account that in developing countries, feminist movement is a very foreign thing. It's not something that is that's very new. So when they introduce these things with that ruthlessness and greed, uh, what will happen is that the people, the government will think it's very hard to accept. But if they went for this a better compromising kind of approach, they will settle for a bit less, but slowly and surely they will actually reach their goal. At least that they have a chance. The government will actually want to have they will listen to what they say instead of outright refusing it. Because with when at least if they get little by little, uh, at least they will reach their goal in the end instead of taking this risk of being fighting for what they want, ruthless and great, but then they take this risk that maybe they will get good or they will get nothing at all. We think that it is better to take a safer stance and compromise to get what they actually can. And with that, I've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, LO, for that speech. I now call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the debate. Here.
My goal is to become an English professor, and I will not settle for less. And the same thing should apply to others as well. Well, for that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to the educators, timekeeper, Mr. Speaker, fellow opponents on the opposition side, and of course my allies on the government side. And so today, I, as a second speaker, will be rebutting the points given by the leader of opposition, and also give my point under the key phrase for the younger generation. And also strengthen my prime minister's point. Now going on to the rebuttals first. The prime minister has said that has said that they better approve. They will want to prove that they will prove how why ruthlessness is not and grit is not an effective way in order to help feminism in in that way. They are saying that by taking a great and more ruthless approach is actually endangering feminism as a whole because we are taking a risk. But ladies and gentlemen, in being gritty, being courageous in what you're saying for, not bending to the societal norms, not bending to what people are asking of you, that is not being coward. That is not taking a risk. That is simply not being cowardly. That is simply standing for what is right. That is simply being for yourself. You are not actually if you are not even ready to stay with what you are fighting for, then what is the meaning of fighting at all? If you are not ready to actually fight for what your goal is, then why should you fight in the first place? They have been saying that they are that by compromising by compromising for other people and also become and I will take the pure eye later. By compromising for other people, it will be a much better way, a much safer way, they say, in order to combat feminism as a whole. But ladies and gentlemen, as of now, as we can see, continuing to be a doormat, I would say a doormat, where you are saying yes to everyone, that means you are not even saying yes to you. Keep on saying yes to everyone, but you are forgetting to say no as well. Saying no is not right. It's not wrong, but by saying no, you are saying yes to yourself. Being honest to yourself and being honest to others. What you are fighting for. Mm. Uh, and also the prime minister, the lead opposition never gave us a direct as example on how and how by taking a more compromising approach to feminism is so much more effective. But while we can actually take on, for example, Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan, he decided to give out interviews to TV stations along with her father. She kept on doing so even though she was banned from doing so multiple times. She kept on going to school even after 12 years old, and eventually she got shot in the head. And did that stop her? No. Even from the UK, from where she lived, if now and before, she is still fighting for the rights of girls, of females in Pakistan, for the right of their education. Her way right now is even slowly and surely fighting the oppression given on to the women to not learn in the first place. Hmm. Yes, and so going on to my point under the younger generation, ladies and gentlemen, on our side, by taking a more grit and more ruthless approach, is where you are being much more strong, much more stern in your standing, where when you are in a station, where you are in a position of power, for example, being a minister, or even just as simple as being the the KP, the student, the council president. Just by being that, if you are using that power to fight for what's right and being stern about it, then people will know that you are not to be messed with. The issue that you're fighting for is something to be taken account of. It's not something that is not important, but in fact should be taken account of. Something that should be taken note always. It's not something to be put aside for later, not to be compromised, but something to be taken in serious as a whole in the first place. And so, or by doing so, or if the people in power are doing so, other people, especially the younger generation, will actually feel much more confident in actually taking part in these sort of things. It is undeniable that things like social exclusion, bullying, sexual harassment happens, as whether in school, in developing countries, and all around the world. But the thing is, people are scared. People are scared that people are going to say, hey, you are too emotional, you are too paranoid. That is just a small thing. But ladies and gentlemen, when you see that people are touching on this issue, this something is important. It's not something to be put aside. It's something that people have to know. People have to see and take note of. Speak up, and they will know that they are not alone in this. People around the world will help them. They are not alone, and they will have a much higher self-esteem, more confidence, and to speak up. And that in itself, with even more of the younger generation and in taking note and actually speaking up, this will actually influence all over the world, not just in their own country, but also in other countries as well. It can be as simple as speaking up in your village, talking up, reporting how there was an issue happening before, and also telling them. And it seems that I am running out of time. But for that, I would like to reaffirm that we, as the government side, are not fully are fully agreeing with this motion, and that we are no happier to propose. With that, I thank you.
Thank you, DPM, for that speech. I now call upon Deputy Leader of Opposition, here.
Yeah, a very good morning indeed to everyone present. So today, as the Deputy Leader of Opposition, here is how I'm going to structure my speech. So first, I'm going to provide some rebuttals to the government side and also give a point of argument to further strengthen our beliefs. Okay, so first of all, the government didn't really understand the motion that feminist movements in developing countries, and they just keep on debating about feminist movements in general. So, what is actually developing countries? Developing countries, like what my leader said just now, developing countries actually is a country that's still facing many problems. For example, law, finance, and etc. Okay, so and also we also not talk about normal feminist movements not compromising and not fighting back. It's just that we think that if we embody ruthlessness and greed, it uh, it will not achieve the main goal of the feminist movements. Okay, so move on to my point of argument, which is feminist movements that embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy will cause more harm than good. Okay, so in developing countries, for example, Malaysia and also other Southeast Asia countries, there are minimum feminist movement, and most of them are conducted peacefully, and the society are used to it and seen it, but actually don't have the bigger picture of it, because like I said just now, we are a developing country. Okay, so if suddenly the feminist movements choose to embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy, then it will change the perspective of the societies towards the feminist movement, and this will actually cause more harm than good if you think in the bigger picture, because uh, because they don't feminist movement that embodies ruthlessness and greed, they don't compromise and they want to be dominant in everything they like. So basically, it's like a take or go policy, or take it or leave it policy. Okay, so because of this, when the society knows about this bigger picture of feminist movement, then this might cause confusion and also fail among the society. Okay, so some may stand with it, but I'm sure that many will not. So this will just lead to more chaos, conflicts, riots, and also maybe bombing in social medias and so on. Okay, so okay, because this instill fear among people, then the societies will not choose to support them, and but rather calling them out because they don't compromise. And this will lead to another bigger problem. Okay, I'm going to take Malaysia as an example. So we have seen acceptable feminist movements that conducted peacefully, and but if we suddenly got exposed to this kind of feminist movements that embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy, then our people will be fear and they will be confused, and the societies will start to spread rumors on social media about this thing being an Illuminati. Then this will cause even more people to be scared and go against them. Okay, so as we can see, this problem will lead to another problem and will lead to another problem and lead to another problem. So at the end of the day, the feminist movement will not achieve their main goals. People will be confused, societies will be confused and scared, and chaos will happen. And basically, if feminist movements choose to embody ruthlessness and greed in their advocacy, they are actually pointing a gun to themselves as they don't think from other many more perspectives and they don't see the bigger picture. And that's all for my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, DLO, for that speech. I now call upon the government whip to continue the debate. Here, here.
Very good afternoon to the honorable judges, the punctual timekeeper, the speaker on the opposition team, and also my teammates on the government side. I will go straight into my rebuttals. As the first speaker have said, that discussion would become harder if people refuse to compromise. In my opinion, refusing to compromise shows that we are being strong in our stand and not settling for less, but settling for our goal and more. And um, another argument that has been stated by the first speaker is new feminist movement would be difficult to be accepted in developing because it can create certain extent that it would be difficult to accept this feminist movement and it would eventually fail. I realize that. However, as times goes on, when the society realize that the problem that they face, they will begin to accept this movement bit by bit, and they will definitely achieve the goal in the long term. And later on, this feminist movement, later on, women will realize that their rights have been violated for a long time, and they would want to um, be involved in this feminist movement. Okay, spreading this feminist movement. Um, all right, I'll move to my the clashes. Okay. The government side, on our side, as my second speaker have said, she have given a few examples which are facts, which are real facts and comes from a trusted source, which is the opposite thing that the opposition side are doing. Not only they are debating without a concrete facts, um, they are not giving a clear example. Since the opposition side is not have not stated any clear example for us to show that the effects of their movement. Therefore, um, in conclusion, I would say that our approach. Uh, what's this? Okay. Therefore, in conclusion, our approach of feminist movement, being more ruthless in our movement, would definitely achieve our goal, and achieve our goal. Therefore, I will end my speech with the stand that we support the motion that this House believe feminist movement in developed world should embody ruthlessness and give their advocacy. With that, I end my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavway, for that speech. I now call upon opposition whip to end the substantive part of the debate. Here.
Right, just to check, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
In order for debate to progress, I believe that there must be a clash. However, side government has been debating in their own world, refusing to debate the spirit of the motion. They went on and on through all three speakers about feminism in general, which obviously all of us on this in this debate are fighting for the same thing. All of us are fighting for the same angles of feminism, which is women empowerment. We're fighting for women's rights to be upheld. However, they are not fighting the spirit of the motion, which is they have yet to explain to us why ruthlessness and grit is so necessary in developing countries, and why it's the dire solution to upholding feminism movements advocacies. So good afternoon, and for today, for my speech, I will be implementing my rebuttals into my clashes before giving a brief conclusion and to state as to why opposition has already won this debate from the start of my leader of opposition. So first of all, the first question that we've answered in this debate, which is under which side does the feminist movement actually achieve its end goals? What government has to realize is that ruthlessness and grit means something that they want then and there. Ruthlessness and grit means, like the definition given in the info slide, you don't want compromise. You're going to fight for your goals in a dominant manner where you are not going to compromise for anything. Hence, when the government whip came up and told us about how as time goes on, people are going to understand, that's basically a contradiction on its own, because when it comes to ruthlessness and grit, you want something to be done then and there. You want a policy to be advocated then and there. You want people to you want people to understand that policy then and that moment. However, under our side, we believe that yes, it is okay to wait for time, because that's why we want to have compromise, because we're not willing to take the risk of harming the feminist movement as a whole by taking such dire actions of ruthlessness and grit. We believe that with compromise, like my leader of opposition stated, we are going, even though it's going to take a bit more time, at the very least, it won't harm the feminist movement as a whole. So, on the other side, we believe that sticking to status quo, where we do not use ruthlessness and grit, and we would like to still compromise, is the best way to achieve feminist movements and goals at the end of the day. So, because remember that in the motion, because we're in developing countries, we have to consider the fact that there are a huge number of a huge large chunk of society that does not even understand what the feminist movement is actually fighting for. I quote, even on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram, lots of Malaysians actually think that feminist movement is just angry women fighting about things. when it's actually not, when all they're fighting for is women empowerment and to advocate for women's rights. We believe that because there's such a large number of society in developing countries that don't understand the actual goals of feminist movement in the first place, implementing ruthlessness and grit will just lead to more harms than benefits and would actually eat the feminist movement at the end of the day. We believe that, like, my deputy leader of opposition came up and gave you a speech regarding how this could actually instill fear in society. So we think that because of this backlash that could most likely happen if you were to instill ruthlessness and grit, we are not willing to take the risk of having society hate the feminist movement even more than they already do. We believe that with compromise and with slow but sure efforts, they'd slowly come to understand what the actual goals of what the feminist movement actually is. And imagine that once society already understands what we're actually fighting for, then they'd come to accept feminist movement. However, if you start with ruthlessness and grit and you refuse to compromise with anything and you want to go hard stance for everything, it will just lead to confusion and fear, and people will just start to come up with more hatred towards this movement. So also in my leader of opposition, he came up and told you that this is not, the world doesn't revolve on a black and white concept. Maybe in developed countries, it could be questioned that maybe they can implement ruthlessness and grit in a developed country where the society where the society is there to think about the societal issues. They don't have much issues to think about when it comes to economy and finance. However, realize that since we're debating on developing countries, we have so many issues to talk about, to the point where the feminist movement, like it or not, is not the main priority of these countries. The main priority of the countries is their economy, the condition of living of their people, this politics, and the development of the country as a whole for infrastructure. Hence, if you were to implement such a hard stance policy without compromise in a country where feminism is not the main concern, it would just lead to more rejection, to more people going against the feminist movement. So my second question in this debate is, under which side is the feminist movement better understood in developing countries? We understand, I think under both sides it's clear that what we want at the end of the day is for the feminist movement to be understood. But we believe that under our side it's understood even better. What government should be fighting for, government in all their three speeches, they were talking about how, they're gonna give talks, you have to speak up, you have to, listen to what it actually is about. That's not what they're supposed to be fighting for. They're supposed to be fighting for how ruthlessness and grit is the way to actually have these advocacies. They have yet to prove to us why is ruthlessness and grit the only option left? Why is compromising not an option? Why is willing to listen and waiting for people to understand not an option? Why would they still want to go through ruthlessness and grit? They have yet to explain that, and I think if you reply, that would be a bit too late. So, sure, their deputy prime minister gave a beautiful speech on how feminism actually works and how it should be understood by people all over. However, they have to realize that when we're discussing this motion about developing countries, we can't expect everyone to understand what our end goal is by just giving more talk or by just having a hard stance. We have to realize that because we're still developing, there are still number of things that we have to concede to, which means that under their side, it's most likely that the feminist movement will be harmed more than upholded, because we have to realize that society plays a big role here. So under our side, we're fighting. We're also fighting for the same things, ladies and gentlemen. We're fighting for the uphold of women power. We're also fighting for women's rights. However, we believe that it's better for society to understand it slowly but surely, through compromise, through understanding. We realize that that's the way to have society understand something new to them. That's something that's not so that's quite foreign in their books. We believe that that's the way to make them understand, not through ruthlessness and grit, not through forcing hard stances, and not through making them try to understand or comprehend something that they don't understand in the first place. And if they don't, the feminist movement would oppose. So hence, by pointing out all of this, I think it's quite clear from our speeches that we've obviously understood the debate better, and we've debated in the spirit of the motion. So if you want to live in a world or a world where we cater to those who don't understand things yet, but we think that the feminist movement can still be upholded even with compromise, then I've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Opwit, for that speech. I now call upon Op Reply to continue the debate. Here.
Excuse me, Judge, just a quick question.
Yeah.
Is there going to be any 2 minutes preparation for the reply? Or just jump
Um,
right in?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Because
all right.
according to the actual Asian parliamentary format, there is no grace period for the reply. So I assume we just continue.
All right, okay, thank you.
So, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon a bit to everyone here. So, I will be giving a reply speech on the motion that this House believes that feminist movements in developing countries should embody ruthlessness and grit in their advocacy. So, I will be stating what is the problems with the government and why we as opposition we take this debate today. Okay, so firstly, one problem that the government has been facing so far is that they lack the understanding of today's motion. Okay, so what do I mean when I say this is that they think that this motion is about promoting feminism, is about feminism in general, whereas the reality is we are trying to debate whether the approach of or the usage uh, of the ruthlessness and grit is the better way than what is happening right now. And uh, in their speeches, it is clearly shown that they live in some sort of utopia where in those developing countries there are lots of problems that people can accept easily. We have to consider the fact that in developing countries there are lots of problems, and this feminist movement is a very new. It's very new to them. It's a very foreign concept, and you can't expect them to instantly grasp the concept of this feminist movement. So that is why I have explained earlier why using this resources and grid is not a good way. Secondly, the second problem with the government side today is that they assume that we, opposition, do not fight for the women's rights. Like said by the second speaker of the government, she said something about how we want the women to have voices, to speak up for themselves, to defend themselves, and we are saying that we are fighting for the right as well. We want the women to have their own voice. We want them to state their opinions. That is also what we want. It's not mutually exclusive on their side. It's just that the way we're doing it is not. We're not going to enforce. We're not going to ask for our rights. This ruthlessness and grit. But instead, we will try to take a safer approach, which is using compromise, and we still fight for those rights. We still want women to be empowered. We still want women to have a voice, but we just use different ways. It's not that we do not fight for this. So it might be a beautiful speech, but it is a very unneeded speech because we all know that we are still fighting for feminism in the end. Okay. Next is that they also contradict with what they say. Okay, so what do I mean by they contradict is that what has been said by my whip is that uh, they say that people with using this ruthlessness and grit, the strategy is that people will start to accept it slowly. Whereas, okay, the problem here is the why they contradict is because firstly, people is because use this technique of accepting slowly is our technique. Is why we compromise is because we want a slower but safer way of achieving our goals. But when you use a ruthlessness and grit, this strategy is used for getting results fast. So this contradicts with what they are fighting for. They're fighting for the fast results, but they say that people will accept in the end. Slowly but surely, people will accept. So this is very contradicting, and that means they accept that what we are saying. But second problem here is that uh, when you use ruthlessness and grit, in the beginning people do not accept. What makes you assume that people can accept it at the end? If in the first place you plant a very bad image of the thing, how do you expect them to suddenly say, oh, I think it's okay? No, this will not happen. That is living in a utopia world. And with that, I've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you, Ob Reply, for that speech, and I'll call upon Gov Reply to end the debate here. Gov Reply, whenever you're ready.
Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, you are audible.
Am I audible? Okay. I'm sorry, but my computer has a problem. When I don't understand something between two categories. And the same would apply to a whole lot of other things. And for that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. Once again, I bid to everyone, and welcome back to the reply speech of this debate. And for the reply speech today, I will be comparing two prominent clashes is between the government side and the opposition side, where one, both of us are trying to cater how to make sure that everyone actually understands what feminism is in the first place. Now, for the government side, they have been saying that by taking in such on and gritty movement, we are going to spread confusion and fear. But ladies and gentlemen, as my prime minister has said before, but that by being great, by being bold in what we're fighting for, we are and being clear and what we're fighting for, we are actually spreading it, being fully honest to society what it is, and this actually gives us no room for rumors to exist in the so goes to on our side. Because on our side, government side is actually more
Um, I just want to confirm if I'm lagging or is the speaker lagging.
The speaker's lagging for us as well.
Okay, all right, okay. Can I just confirm if the speech will be given again or what's going on?
Uh, can you guys hear me? Just now there's a bit of connection problem, so she's trying to rejoin.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So she's coming back, right?
yeah, she's coming back. Yeah, she's trying to
Okay,
rejoin.
okay.
Hello, am I audible again?
Yeah, you are audible. I think you cut off
Finally.
near the 1 minute 20-second mark of your speech.
Oh, until when was it heard?
I cut.
If I could I no?
You were talking about why it's important to establish trust with people by being open about what feminism is about.
Oh, that part. Okay. I'll be continuing my speech in three, two. And thus by putting up a trust, so we are honest to the society and such, we are people will be actually clear what we're fighting for and be more open to what we are fighting for. And for the second category, which is about dealings, the opposition side has been talking about compromising, whether we will have to say yes and no to certain things. We have to compromise with other things as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we have to know that feminism is actually an idea that is not widely accepted. If we were to always compromise with others, that is saying that we are bending towards others. We are not fully committed to our goal. But instead, by being in bold, by being more gritty in our approach, we will show that we are not to be messed with. We are showing in that what we fight for is something that will not bend to the confirmation of others, no matter our roles, no matter our gender itself. Uh, and with that, I as the I as the last speaker of the government side fully agree to the motion that this house believes that feminist movements is in a developing world should embody ruthlessness and grit and advocacy for the sake of feminism itself. With that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gov reply for that speech. So me and my panelists will just head to a Discord channel to discuss and deliberate over the results of the debate. Just give us around, I would say, 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll be back with you with the decision